The other day, I made a little YouTube short talking about the Wendigo slash Michigan Dogman slash Alabama Grizzly gun, and there was a little bit of confusion whenever I started talking about this here Brunswick rifle and the use of winged bullets or winged projectiles, and some people were a little bit confused about that. And I'm just going to make this little video here to kind of explain very quickly what I was talking about. So you see, in the 1830s, the British government was trying to look for a new rifle to replace the Baker. And some things that they were looking for is, obviously, they wanted to go from flintlock to percussion cap. That was all the rage. Also, they wanted to go to something that could reach out further than the old pattern of Baker rifle. And you see, the problem with rifles like the Baker and the American long rifle and things like the 1803 Harper's Ferry hanging up there on the wall is they all use a patched round ball. Now, don't get me wrong, a patched round ball is deadly accurate out to 300 yards. I personally stacked 49 caliber round balls out of my Kibler Woods Runner out at 150 yards, stacked one on top of the other. They are extremely accurate. Problem is, though, when you're using patches and round balls, is that you have to have a very slow twist to your rifling. Because if you speed that twist up too much, the patch and the ball are simply going to be shooting past it at high velocities, and they are going to just rip right past that. They're just going to slide right through that rifling and not even really get a good spin or a very consistent spin on them. And there was a little bit of an arms race in the 1830s on how to fix that with rifles, and there was a lot of different methods that people were trying. British muzzleloaders, whenever I was talking to him on the live chat the other day, several months ago, he had even mentioned it briefly, talking about how they were trying to get where you could hammer the ball to fit the bore of the gun to smash it down at the base of the breech. All sorts of different techniques were being tried. One of those was for the rifle the British did end up adopting, which was the Brunswick. Now, the Brunswick, which is what I have right here, this is a Nepalese-made Brunswick we're working on. It had a very interesting take on this whole problem. You see, what the British decided to do with the Brunswick was to get rid of all the small grooved rifling altogether, like the Baker had, and the American long rifle, and so on. And what they did is they decided that they were going to go ahead and put a two-groove rifling in the gun. Now, this isn't just any two-groove rifling. I'm going to see, yeah, you can kind of pick it up there on the camera. You see those two grooves at the end of the barrel? That's where the rifling starts at the muzzle. They are very deep, very wide, and the ball, which I'm going to show a picture of here, is what the British decided to go along with it. This is called a belted round ball. I like to say that it is the miniature Saturn, is kind of what it looks like. And the way it would work is they would take this round ball with a belt around it, and they would put it in a piece of calico patch, and they would take ink and they would mark where the belt was on the patch, and then they would dip it in a hard lubricant that would dry, and the patch would stay adhered to the ball. And the British tests stated that the Brunswick was not only as accurate as the Baker at 300 yards, but was more accurate than the Baker at extended ranges out to 600. This was a pretty good technique. You're not going to have that big old belt stripping off of there really easily and flying down range. And like I say, the reason why they're wanting to speed up that twist and that rifling is because the faster you can get that ball spinning coming out of the barrel, the longer it's going to stay spinning in the air, and the more stable it's going to be out to longer ranges. So about the winged bullets. About the time that the Crimean War is kicking off, the Russians are figuring out that they don't have some very good rifles, and they're trying to figure out how to best combat against the British P-53 infield, and what they end up with is a bunch of Liège Brunswicks. Belgium back in the day, before they are the famous gun makers that they are now, world renowned, they were kind of looked down on back in the day because there were basically no patent laws in Liège, Belgium, or in Belgium in general. Same with Spain, really. And so they would copy guns from all over the world. They copied Smith & Wessons, they copied Brunswicks, they copied Colts, they copied everything. Like I said, Spain did the same thing. Just a little FYI, when you see your Smith & Wesson revolver and you see that it has a patent in Spanish, that is specifically for Spain. The Belgians were making Brunswick rifles for the Russians. Well, the Russians had figured out for their Finnish sharpshooters, and I'm not sure if it was the Russians or the Finns who had figured it out, but they liked the idea of a conical bullet better than a round ball because obviously a conical is more aerodynamic at longer distances. And so what they did was they took a 740 grain conical and they put, I'll pull up a picture right here, they put a wing on either side to fit down those rifling grooves. And that worked in the place of the belt. So there you go. Very brief little history video on this. I hope this answers a lot of your questions. As always, guys, thank you for watching. Trust in God and keep your powder dry. Bye.